what the actual meaning of the Quran is. So that's very important. That's a principle of the Quran which you should know. Are there some Qurans that you guys are giving out today? No. Okay, well, in case you do ever get a copy, or you go online, we can get you a copy if you like. The first principle, two principles to interpret the Quran. If you're ever wondering about, well, this guy interpreted this way, and that guy interpreted that way, so anyone can interpret whatever they like. It's not about whatever you like. There's principles which you have to follow, otherwise you're being unjust to the book itself. The first principle you have to follow are the rules of the language. So for example, you cannot simply take the Quran and you go and you say, well, this word has 4 meanings in Arabic. So I'm going to pick the one that I feel suits whatever is in my mind from the dictionary, and I think we should go ahead and insert that one, even if the context does not agree with that meaning. That would be unjust. So the first rule is to interpret the Quran according to the correct rules of the Arabic language. The second rule is to interpret the Quran by the Quran. So you interpret some verses of the Quran by looking at other verses of the Quran. You do the same thing in every single book. You're studying a math book, a science book, Shakespeare, whatever it may be. If you go in the middle of the book and you pinpoint one sentence, and you say, well, I'm only going to look at this sentence, I think it means this. And he said, well, you have to read the entire chapter, you have to read the other chapters to get the story. No, I don't want to read the rest of the story. I just want to focus only on this one line, and I'm going to give you my own spin on it. It's not going to work because you're being unjust to the book. So the first principle that you have to follow, that you have to keep in mind, is that you interpret the Quran by the other verses of the Quran. That's the way to keep it in context. Okay? So just keep that principle in mind, and keeping that principle in mind, we actually find that this will remove a lot of confusions that people have. So whenever you see next time on Fox News, you see next time on CNN, someone quoting a verse of the Quran, or you find some wacko that they invited for a particular reason, and he's going and quoting, oh, well, this verse of the Quran means go and kill them here, kill them there. Go and look at the context again. Look at whether he's applying the rules that I just mentioned to you, and you'll be able to figure out whether this guy's actually a wacko, or he was invited for a specific political reason with an agenda, or this guy's actually giving you the real spiel, the real deal about Islam. So, what does the Quran say to love or hate those who are unbelievers or infidels? So I just answered the same question. So what you find is certain verses which talk about do not take unbelievers as allies. All right? Do not take them as allies. And then you find another verse which says something very similar in the exact opposite context. It says, God does not forbid you to take as allies those people who do not harm you, who do not go against you. So if you take the two verses again together in context, you find that this is referring to people who hate you, who are trying to kill you, people who just hate your guts, and the only reason why they're there is they're there to harm you. They're there to say something against you. They're there to cause you problems. And that's almost like their goal in life. And there are some people like this. Their goal in life is to simply cause problems for other people. And this happens to many Muslims on a very large basis. You probably don't know that it's happening. You probably don't know that in Florida, there was a pipe bomb that went off in a mosque. Probably don't know that. You probably don't know in Tennessee that the equipment that was being used to build a mosque was coated with napalm and set on fire. You probably don't know that. You probably don't know that in Urmo, California, right here, there was an imam, a leader, a scholar of Islam, who was captured inside of his house. They graffitied his house with an American flag and a Nazi sign and burned him alive inside. You probably don't know that. You probably don't know that every single week there's at least 10 to 50 cases of discrimination against Muslims that take place in America, right here, every single week. Contact an organization that's called CARE, the Council on American Islamic Relations, and you will find out every single incident that's taking place. So this is something that's happening on a large level, and what these verses are talking about, when people go to that extent, be very careful at who you take, and who you trust, and who you're going to go and let your guard down in. That's what these verses are talking about. But those people who are peaceful, those people who don't engage in these type of things, there's no issue. There's no issue, and there's never been an issue historically, and that's what Islam invites to. Islam invites to living together, commonality, and working together. Let's do after that. Okay, sure. Okay. Yeah. see, the point is here, is that the Quran gives us permission. The Quran gives us two options. So that if someone comes and kills you, someone comes and kills your family, someone comes and slaughters your family or something, you have two options. You have option number one is retaliation. And the retaliation is bound by strict rules. Those rules are you cannot retaliate above and beyond exactly what they've done to you. So it's put things into complete context. Does not mean that someone goes and kills, oh, I'm going to go and wipe out your entire family. You know, you mess with my son, I'm going to go and mess with your entire family. You can't do that. Number two is that it says, and if you forgive, that's better. And if you forgive, that's the best thing. And it encourages forgiveness. So why is this? Because this is the way people are. You see, you can simply say that, you know what, you have to just bear the pain. You just have to deal with it. That's your problem, you know. But the reality is this is not the way human psychology is. Human psychology has this desire and this drive to go and make vengeance. Go and do something back. Why? Because one, the person is guilty. He's a perpetrator. He's a criminal. At the same time, people have a desire to go overboard. And that's a common, problem in the heart of every single person. So the common problem in the heart of every single person here is that they go overboard. So what does Islam do? Islam puts certain rulings, it puts certain restrictions right there to make sure we do not go above and beyond that. So that's exactly what it says. But it says, but if you forgive, that is better. Forgiving is the best thing. And this is exactly what was practiced by the Prophet, and it was practiced by the Muslims. So this is there in the Quran as well, inshallah. So, barakallah. Thank you. Okay. Like for example, name an extremist and tell me who justified it. Okay, name an extremist that you heard of on the news or something that you could justify this verse. Well, you see, Islam is a practical religion. It's not about theoretical and this and that. So if you can give me a practical example, we can try and apply it. But if we just talk it in the air like nowhere, we can go and do gymnastics. Okay, yeah, let's take 9/11 for example. Let's take Bin Laden or whatever maybe. Okay, on what basis is he killing these people? No. Like I said before, right? If you want to go and take a wacko, right, and say that he's representing Islam, right. That's what I'm saying. So he could feel whatever he wants. I mean, one guy can go and say, I had a dream that I'm going to go and kill this person. So, well, your actions are justified by your dream. You don't say it's justified, right? Because your dream doesn't have any justification. Someone else, for example, one of the shooters, for example, he said that, I was shooters in the colleges, university shooters. He said, I was fulfilling the message of Jesus Christ. So, I mean, I believe you're a Christian. You would say, well, that's not true. We say, well, there's a verse in the Bible that says that Jesus said that I do not think that I was sent to bring peace to this world. I was not sent to bring peace, but I was sent to bring the sword. That's a verse in the Bible, right? So we say, well, that person was actually representing Christianity by his verse. Now, I know that the verse in the Bible doesn't mean that. I know the context because I read it. But if he could go ahead and take that verse and say, well, it says that Jesus said, according to the Bible itself, that I came to bring the sword. So this guy comes and says, I'm bringing the sword. And that's exactly what I did. But you guys would say, or a Christian would say, well, you didn't look at the context. And he doesn't represent Christianity. We're saying the exact same thing with the Quran. So if we go and we try and put the words in someone else's mouth, we have to be equal to everyone. You can't say, well, when it comes to my book, if you interpret it, I'm going to ask you for the context. But when it comes to your book, you have no right to tell me about context. So just keep that one in mind. Okay. You want to take one here or one here? Okay, well, yeah, go ahead. Right, but here, right. Right. No, the thing is, yeah, I understand. I understand from their perspective. Yes, I understand what you're saying, but it's not about their perspective. You see, anyone can go and claim, well, see, this person, made war on me, but he looked at me funny, so therefore I'm in a state of war with him. The reality is they're actually killing Muslims. So Muslims are also very big victims of what's taking place.